on you to doubt El Danny.
This is Robbie Eagles.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
Hi, this is Mimic. This is 5-time the world's heavyweight champion, the Scrap Daddy himself, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce.
This is Brian Alvarez, and you are listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Welcome to the show, folks. My name is Josh Armour, and thanks very much for downloading Wrestle Radio Australia. This is our first episode.
Oh, yeah! G'day, this is Big Brody Marshall.
This is Brian Alvarez.
This is Dean Brady of the Millennials.
This is Jurassic Punk Sid Parker.
How many of you guys have heard the term kayfabe?
Hello, doggers. This is Jay Hunter from OSW Review.
This is Matt Grim Basso.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
This is Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, and you are locked in
to Wrestle Radio Australia.
I in the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, turn like a muscle. If you suffer like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the vein, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you ain't down with that, then I got two words for you, suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, hold another cup. Let's be busy, 23, got me feeling way too sweet.
I was trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and it was just awful.
I've turned chicken salad into chicken shit. I will continue to do so.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit.
This is Bianca Belair.
Hey, this is Kevin Owens.
Hey, it's Seth freaking Rollins.
It is the man, Becky Lynch.
It's Rhea Ripley here, and you're listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. My name is Todd Eastman. Wait, no, it's not. I'm Lachlan Albert, and I am joined on this wonderful Thursday night by the man behind Pario Magazine, the Australian Wrestling Cards, Jamie Apps. Jamie, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Feels a bit weird. There's only two of us.
I know, and it's a weird two-man booth tonight. Unfortunately, Jeff is out at a gaming convention, wishing him the best, and Todd with some personal stuff going on with one of the dogs who's just gone through surgery. So everybody, if you can keep Bugsy in your thoughts, that'd be wonderful, and we send out the best to Todd. Unfortunately, as the ticker says below, I cannot edit this overlay, so I'm just going to be Todd Eastman for the night. Yeah, buddy, let's go. My name is Lachlan Albert. As I said, Jamie, we have got a massive night to cover tonight. We were running through it at the top. We said, you know, it's been in some ways a little bit of a slow news week, but that's not going to be a problem for us because we've got PWA King of the Metro to talk about. We've got Renegades of Wrestling's Indistructible to talk about. We've got the Ballroom Brawl coming up this weekend we've got to make predictions for. We're going to talk about the results from Night of Champions. We've got upcoming shows in WWE like Great American Bash, Saturday Night's Main Event, Evolution, SummerSlam, AEW's got All in Texas. We've got updates on the G1 Climax, and in fact, updates on who is champion over in New Japan. It is going to be a stacked week. So if you want to be part of this conversation, you've got to come along to twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia like Wild Angel has done, lucking out on their work break and managing to catch a little bit of the stream, because we want to hear what you think about all of these shows, where your head is at with wrestling at the moment. What's your chicken salad? What's your chicken shit? We got so much to talk about. Let's smash into it. Jamie, dealer's choice. Do you want to start with PWA King of the Metro or Renegades Indistructible?
Let's go PWA first.
Fantastic. This show, that's exactly right. We were lucky enough to watch the PWA King of the Metro Rumble live on YouTube this past week. That's right. I've got a slightly different catchphrase, but you can still catch this show for free on YouTube. I'll make sure that when this podcast goes up, you can get the link in the description, or you can just do what I do. You jump on over to YouTube, you search for PWA or Pro Wrestling Australia. It's there to be watched. It was up live, so you have got that little intermission bit to skip through, but I went back and watched most of the show just before. It is so easy to get to. It's the same deal with Renegades that we'll be talking about later. I don't even go through chats for links anymore. I just literally open up YouTube, search for the promotion. There it is to watch for free. It has become so easy to watch Great Australian Wrestling. Have you felt this, Jamie?
Oh, yeah. I love all the shows going up on YouTube. And PWA, even this week, they broke out each of the matches individually as separate videos as well. So you don't have to do mission B if you don't want to.
It makes it so easy, doesn't it? Now, speaking, PWA King of the Metro, the show kicked off with a Soul of PWA Championship match. Robbie Eagles defending that title against Michael Spencer of MK Plus Ultra. Spencer doing a very fun Demon Slayer homage in his entrance here. And this match, I loved this. I mean, it couldn't be more my style of wrestling. And it felt like Robbie Eagles got an opponent that was so willing to work a Robbie Eagles style match with him. This was fast-paced and technical and interesting, and every move connected and made sense for what they were doing long-term. I loved this. What did you think of the Soul of PWA title match there, Jamie?
Yeah, shock horror, a match with Robbie Eagles and Michael Spencer is a good match. They were great together. This was an awesome showing for Spencer as well. Like, a lot of people don't sort of see him as a singles guy, but he can hang with people like Robbie just as well as he can hang with the Velocities in a tag match. And then Robbie switching it to the heel persona for recent times, especially PWA, just like deadpanning the Robbie Oi chant is so good. It's just, he still gets the chant, so how can I use this to my advantage? And he just deadpans it and then starts kicking Spencer like somewhat disrespectfully in time, in tune with it.
Yeah, great way to like really fuel that kind of character, even when the crowd want to support him. Really well done by Robbie.
And even when he's still hitting the best of Robbie Eagles stuff, like he's still hitting all the moves that everyone knows, but doing it in a way that is flipping the script and making people hate him for using those. And it's just done a great job of elevating the title and a lot of sort of overlooked talents like Spencer, like Jimmy Townsend. Like, it's helped them all come up as like, okay, these are guys that are on that cusp of winning a title, but not quite the world title yet.
And he's such a good opponent for them, but it really showcases what they can do. Like, there's moments where Robbie is good enough to make you believe that this is the kid who's going to do it, but then believably take the match and go, no, I am the champ and I'm going to make you hate me for it. I really like what Robbie's doing with this run. I think it's just excellent. A few people in the chat with comments as well. Macho Man Andy Savage coming into the chat saying this match ruled. Robbie as a jerk is great fun. And Alex Fireheart with a slightly different opinion saying, not going to lie, Spencer lost me when he kept doing knee-focused moves after Robbie was working his knees, and specifically just no-selling the knee work. I don't mind a little bit, and I say a little bit, I think that I have the idea that the adrenaline takes over, and even if you've had, your leg targeted, you can use the leg for a little bit, as long as there's follow through with adrenaline only holds so much, right? Oh. And I felt that, yeah, there was those adrenaline spots from Spencer, but in my opinion, pull out the old catchphrase, for me, it didn't feel overdone to the point where I'm like, how's he using his legs so much? It just felt like, oh, he's got a hot streak for the moment. He's going to use everything he's got. There's a few people in the chat also talking about managing to see this show. Alex Fireheart actually caught the PWA show a day late due to traveling while it was on. But there's the advantage of being up on YouTube, And Wild Angel says that they caught PWA free on YouTube and loved the show. You've also got Matty Huss in the chat saying, kudos to the production team at PWA. Live broadcasts aren't easy, and they smashed it out of the park. And the production on this show was absolutely fantastic. From the graphics being there, the promos being ready to go, the countdowns being ready and on time, but then also all of the other things. The camera work, as always, with PWA was excellent, and that's something
the best in the business.
It's like, it's something we don't talk about because it's so good that you don't notice it's there, right? It's one of those things where if you get it right, no one will notice at all. And PWA get it right every time. It's the same with, There's
something
no
I said,
feed interruptions.
said with Tuckman when I interviewed Tucky that like these shows, like the PWA shows specifically, with how well produced they are, if a TV network wanted to put them on TV next month, they could. They don't have to change anything. It's just okay. Send the feed here instead of to YouTube.
Yeah, that's literally it. And I think this was a great match to kick off the show as well, right? Something high energy with, you know, characters who, if you've never seen PWA before, Robbie Eagles is clearly someone that's respected but getting full of himself. And Michael Spencer doing the anime thing is really easy for new fans to catch on to, of being like, oh, this guy's doing something fun. He's showing off what he cares about, but he's still a good pro wrestler. I think it was a great pick for opener. Loved the match. Again,
and it also left open the idea of because Robbie's in the first match, and we know Tuckman's coming in number 1 in the Metro. Like, oh no, are they going to like chuck Robbie out in the Rumble at 29 to come in and toss Tucky out just to keep that story going?
Yeah, lots of good options there. I'll also mention one of my favorite commentary teams is the 3 having Unsocial Jordan with Rose and Gale. What a great commentary team. Like 3 absolutely stellar commentators just at the top of the game. Like, it makes it so watchable when they're able to inform the story while telling jokes, while looking at, you know, the reasons behind specific moves happening and calling what the moves are, and love that team. And so, like, really
in, like, Twitter comments too, like they're on everything. Like that's
they
very professional
over it. And a 3-man booth as well that doesn't have a lot of over talk, that are able to let people have their moments, but, you know, carry through those ideas. Matty Huss says, further to Jamie's point, I'm watching and waiting to see which Aussie Fed strikes a deal first to get their content library of shows placed on a commercial BVOD platform. That's the play for an Aussie Fed. There's been those things before. The issue is that, you know, when it comes to paying for the shows, like EPW have the Vimeo stuff. Like, to me, the play is going to be when one of them gets a deal with a KO or something like that, right? Where people can have it there, show up as an ad in front of them and go, oh, I'm paying for this service and it's got that on it. Let me check it out, right? And that could even go with it being free on YouTube. Like, it doesn't have to just be there. I'm sure that for whatever the streaming service is, it'd be great to have an extra product, and for whatever the wrestling company is, it's good to get extra eyes. I think that's where the magic is, I think. Because Stan
would be the place that I would go to. Like, Stan are a local outfit. They're really pushing and expanding their sport side now with them getting the EPL and everything. Like, get them up. Maybe there's a chance there.
Yeah, you never know. It could be interesting. But yeah, I think the you know, specific video on demand commercial stuff, something like EPW is doing with their Vimeo, it's really excellent stuff, but it can just be that little bit of a barrier for people who aren't already the diehards that we are, who are going to be invested in wrestling in that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Moving on with this show, after a killer opener, the PWA tag team titles on the line, with the Backslide Girls managing to defend those titles against the Velocities. Now, there are some things that I really want to praise about this match, but there's some things that I didn't love that I think we've got to get out of the way first, right? First of all, I think that just looking at the entrances, I love what the Backslide Girls did with Believe by Cher. I think that was like an excellent choice. And having another performer come out and doing a 5-minute long song and dance number before that takes some of the air out of the room. It makes you go, what exactly am I watching? Especially when the Velocities had already entered. So the Velocities are then just standing there for 5 minutes. Like, what? And also, credit to the performer, because the dance was good.
Yeah, I don't think her singing was great. And I don't know whether that was her not being a great singer, although she was out of breath almost immediately, so that's not a great sign. But if we're going to have like singing acts like this come in and do these special entrances and performances, can we really focus on the sound mix and make sure that is good for the stream audience as well as the live? Because it might sounded great live, it sounded terrible online. You couldn't really get any of the lyrics.
Yeah, it was pretty atrocious. Wild Angel in the chat agrees, saying audio issues and the double entrance for the Backslide Girls really took me out of the flow of the show. And Alex Fireheart says, yeah, the song and dance prior to the Backslide Girls entrance was a bit overindulgent. There are a couple of problems match-wise that I had with this match as well. One is I think there was just a little too much Barnaby stuff for my liking in a match of this caliber, right? When you've got Velocities for the PWA title on a show that only has 4 matches, like, I think that there really has to be, this is for all the marbles. How much time are we going to spend on a stuffed bear, right?
It either had to be for all the marbles or all comedy. We couldn't do the mix.
Yeah, because if you're saying that this is the big match for the tag division, then any time spent on the silliness is ridiculous. If you're doing a fun comedy match, that's great, and you can build the match like that, but then you don't get to have the big, this is the upstart babyface tag team conquering the biggest challenge that they've faced, rah. You really do get one or the other. And I think that
especially when
you can
kicked it off in the way that they did with the sort of Velocities finally getting that heel edge we've all been sort of looking for. They kicked it off real quick and like brutally just like beating down the Backslide Girls. I was like, oh, this is that edge we've been looking for of like just twisting the Velocities a little bit. So you can't go from that to then back to Barnaby silliness.
Exactly. Alex Fireheart's right, saying, to be fair, Barnaby stuff did almost cost them, so there is that element. And yeah, that's true. I unfortunately wasn't super impressed with Everett Connors in this one. It just felt like he was a step behind everyone else, which is a shame. And I think that his energy as a character really didn't match what was happening in this matchup, right? Because like we said, this is the biggest thing that the Backslide Girls have faced as champions by a long way. These are the guys. And, commentary kept saying, this is the best tag team PWA has ever had. There's arguments to be made, but all of them involve the Velocities, right? Like, you can't deny that they are the tag team. And
beating the Velocity should cement you as, we're the team to beat now. And this didn't have that result.
No, and I think the presentation of Everett Connors didn't fit that feeling, unfortunately. And it carried through kind of the selling and the offense and the times when he wasn't wrestling. It just felt like it didn't fit. All that is to say, the Velocities are the best damn team on the planet. They do not miss. Everything they do looks phenomenal. And Shay Cassidy kept up with them 100%, which keeping up with the Velocities should be taken as the biggest compliment that there is. She was excellent here. We've become kind of, just this show has just become us talking about how great Shay Cassidy has gotten, right? Yeah. Like, she really, really is like absolutely fantastic. And we'll talk quickly about the fact that, on the next show, it was going to be champ versus champ with Shay Cassidy versus Chevs. And with Charlie Evans having an injury, that's been swapped over to Shay versus Robbie Eagles. And that's a match that I'm massively excited for. I can't imagine like the level of match that those two are going to put on, because Shay is just out here proving herself every show. I was so impressed by the work she did here. I think the green Power Ranger gear was bloody excellent.
Kind of touch on one of my pet peeves though, of like matching your opponent because the Velocities were also in green. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Communicate, please.
Yeah, I wish that it wasn't the same colors as Velocity's gear, but
if the Velocities were in their yellow or their purple, fine. But they were in their green. God damn it.
Yeah. Right there with you. But yeah, overall, I thought that there were some things that I really didn't like about this match, but there were some things that I really liked. So it's hard to have a single opinion on this match. Are you kind of on the same page there?
Yeah, I was in a similar vein. Like, it was enjoyable for what it was, but there were those couple of drawbacks. And also the finish. Why is the ref counting a double pin when they had Shea and Everett both pinning the Velocities? I'm like, no. We can't have two people pinning the one guy and the ref be like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm with you there. There's got to be some logic to who the legal person is.
Yeah, it didn't quite get what you wanted out of it, of cementing the backslides as the tag team to beat now. So interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, is this a Velocity's heel turn now? And the other thing I'm interested in seeing is where the backslide girls go from here, because I have to assume that the next challenges for those tag team titles are going to be North Shore Wrestling, right? Like, is that just wishful thinking from me? It's got to be, right? Who else can it be?
North Shore or Coastborn Killers, maybe?
I don't see it being Coastborn Killers, just because it feels like Braxton has to have the rocket strapped to him at this point. We'll talk about that more when it comes to the King of the Metro Rumble. But
they've kind of also got to fill in time before we get to Coliseum. He's not going to do anything until then, so...
That's true. So they could be the next challengers just for a short period of time before we get the big Coliseum matchup for the titles, which is, it's got to be, right?
Put North Shore in for the
North Shore at Coliseum. Yeah, surely. And Wild Angel said, didn't North Shore Wrestling have their chance at Mounties, or did I dream that? I almost don't count the Mountie shows in that kind of... it's kind of like people having title matches on house shows versus pay-per-views, right? So it
was a weird North Shore team, because it wasn't Sam and Will, because one of them was at a different show. So it was like a weird convoluted mixture of them.
So I think it's going to be Sam and Will with Jack on the outside. That's the proper, like, now we're going to take all the gold. Right? Anywho, so that's the tag team title. As for the PWA heavyweight title, Chev's Kai Drake 1-on-1 for the PWA heavyweight title. I'll pass this one to you, Jamie. What did you think of this matchup?
This was very good. Especially now that we've learnt that Charlie was injured leading into this. To have such a great match with Kai Drake was great. The little things of her, like, backing out into the ropes to avoid Kai early on was such a nice, small added touch where it adds so much to Drake and makes him look like a formidable opponent for her that she is actually wary of, not so much of she's going in there going, I'm just going to beat this guy, I've done it before, for her to be like, oh, I'm going to back away to the ropes and use the ropes to get away from you early on before we've even really done anything. Just makes it like, oh, she's a little bit concerned about this guy, he might be the one that can take it off her.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wild Angel's in the chat saying match of the night, right? I think that we've been on the Kai Drake bandwagon for a while. Even back when his thing was, look how much I can eat. Kai Drake has been a really good pro wrestler, and he's just so hard hitting. And I think it was a really good matchup, right? I think that Chevs and Kai, they're people who like to hit hard, right? And I'll talk about the matchup that I'm looking forward to for Chevs, because I was tweeting about it. But I think that sometimes when you've got a champion like Chevs, it's about picking the right opponents, right? Because there's a couple of long-term stories for that title. Obviously, Chevs and Jess is going to be something that is the undercurrent for a long time. That those two are just going to be their fight forever, right? And then you've got everything that's going on with Braxton's ascension, and you've got all these other people. picking the right people to make Chevs look dangerous as a champion is really important. And I think they nailed it with Kai. The main event of the night, though, big one. Are we ready for the Loxcalibur voice? Because the King of the Metro Rumble had Tuckman, Aaron Jake, Aisha, Backman, Ben Braxton, Big Fudge, Billy Preston, Cosmo Cooper, Edward Dusk, El Phoenician, Hari Singh, Jack J. Bonza, James Hartness, Jarvis, Jay Sorbet, Jessica Troy, Marley Paletti, Melissa Avarillo, Mick Moretti, PPK as a single entrant, Ricky South, Rita Stone, Robbie Thorpe, Sam Osborne, Scott Green, Skaterboy Pidgey, Tony Sin, Ty Thayer, Will Keatis, and Xander Sullivan in an hour-long Rumble match, which I had a blast with. This was really fun to, like we said, it was live on YouTube, and the fact that the YouTube chat was on, I think was a fantastic touch here, because there was a little bit of that, over on Twitter, there was some people calling stuff in the YouTube chat. We were popping off whenever the entrance came out. Tuckman, number one, managed to go all the way through, last to the end, finishing sequence with number 30, Jack Bonza, to get the win, and then immediately get on the mic and challenge Robbie Eagles for the Soul of PWA title. I will say, everybody, a round of applause for Jamie for calling exactly what would happen. Nostradamus down there. Thank you. Roddy Online with a great question. Do fans ever get sick of Rumbles? I love them. No, Rumble's great. Like, there's a concern when there's
an iconic theme song. That helps a lot.
Yes. The concern only comes when there's too many too close together, right? I'm glad that we have like a little bit of a gap between the PWA Rumble and the MCW Rumble, because if there was another one there, I think it would just be too much. But yeah, I'm loving this stuff. Roddy Online also asks, how long has Evans held the belt? She won it at Coliseum last year. Is that right? So that would have been October. No, it was Chevs versus Troy, which was only a couple of months ago.
It was like a month after that.
Yeah, that's right. Rose in the chat says this was definitely one of the loudest crowds I've ever witnessed live. In the room, it was insane. The energy for this show was amazing, and we were just saying how much we liked your commentary, Rose.
The Metro Theatre, because they are running music venues, the way the sound just stays trapped in those rooms and echoes around is so amazing.
It's brilliant. Couple of contrasting opinions in the chat. Alex Fireheart says PPK as a single entrant was interesting and fun. Wild Angel said, hated the PPK nonsense. I think that when you've got a 30-person Rumble, it's important to have different things going on throughout the entire thing. You can't just have, here is a wrestler who's going to try to throw people off over the top rope. You have to have variation and acts within the Rumble. I think that I maybe would have liked the PPK thing to go a little bit shorter, but I did enjoy that they went for something interesting with both members being in one number, so needing 4 feet to touch the floor. I thought that was a fun way to keep people's interest going through an hour-long match. What did you think of it, Jamie?
At first, I wasn't a fan of it, but I'm glad when the eliminations did happen, they were in quick succession. It wasn't, oh, Nikki's gone out, Nikki's eliminated, and then Frankie hangs around for another 10 eliminations. It was, no, they were like back-to-back. If it had been that weird convoluted thing of, oh, one of them's out, but the other one's still in, that would have annoyed me. So I'm glad it was quick and simple. They didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Much. Here we go. Rose has a complaint about PWA production. Stop giving Keatis a microphone.
He was feeling his inner Booker T, and it was awesome.
But that was exactly like what I was talking about with the phases and the acts of a Rumble, right? You had this moment where Keatis came out and got the microphone, and then Osborne came out right after and took the microphone, and they were narrating their beatdown. And then you had Hartness come out and show who James Hartness is, which a couple of the surprise entrants in this Rumble I thought were bloody excellent. Hartness, fantastic. Obviously, we know I love Dusk. We know the Dusk thing. We loved having Dusk there. And then Aisha as a surprise entrant was so cool. I think Rita Stone was an awesome entrant that I wasn't quite expecting. You know, we saw Melissa Avarillo recently. Jarvis popped me through the roof. I had so much fun.
I expected that we didn't get as well.
Yeah, it was like a little bit interesting which ones they did do and which ones they didn't do. But I think that the choices they made were excellent. If anything, I wanted to see more Jarvis. Because I think the concern with Jarvis right now is that he is so hot as a babyface in MCW and still has such high heel heat from Renegades that you do run into that question of which Jarvis are you trying to get across? And does he have the residual energy from doing the other thing at the moment that derails it? Because he's just so good. I agree with Andy Savage here that wish Aisha had gotten to do more, but there were some great surprises. Rose says, hashtag welcome back Moretti. Seeing Moretti back in action has been great. I'm lucky enough that I've seen him live a couple of times already this year, so that's very exciting. But it's always good to see Moretti, and he was doing all of the usual Moretti stuff in this Rumble. Matty Huss with the same comment as me. I, honest to God, was thinking that this would be the year that Karl Stefanovic would show up in the Rumble. I felt the energy. I felt like it could be. Any other highlights or lowlights in this Rumble from you, Jamie?
No real lowlights. I loved, with Rose in the commentary booth, they put up Dusky huge, which is like pretty justifiable. It made me sort of think, maybe Dusk's going to be in Coliseum this year because they really big upped him. So, and I'd like to see that.
The last thing I need is Edward Dusk getting a sword, but go on.
Yeah, you might not survive. Yeah. And I loved, there were a lot of stories that carried through this Rumble. It wasn't just, oh, here's the next guy, he's getting eliminated. Here's the next guy, or here's one person coming in and going on a run of 20 eliminations. There was the Jess eliminations that Maddie just brought up. That was strange. That was probably my low light for it. But I loved Ketis and Sam, their Booker T commentary spot. They were just having fun.
Yep.
And then Scott Green sacrificing himself to save. That was an incredible elimination. They did that so well.
That's one of those spots that I absolutely adore in wrestling, but I'm fine that I don't see it too often because I think it's so hard to get right. Because it has to happen really quickly, but also slow enough that you can understand what's happening. And that is a really, really difficult tightrope to walk. And Scott Green and the Tuckman bloody nailed it. Scott taking the finisher and the elimination to keep Tucky alive in the match. Bloody excellent stuff. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, to answer what Matty Huss was saying there, elephant in the room time, lads. There were boos for Jess. Alex Firehart says, I'll give them credit. I didn't see Jess coming back out to get legit eliminated because I assumed it was one of those gotta protect them moments.
I thought there's a couple of things, and I predicted that in our chat, and then literally as I hit send,
as you sent it,
I feel like an idiot.
It felt to me, and Wild Angel's right though, genuinely thought anyone could win the Rumble. Loved it. The thing about Jess at the moment is that, we talked for a long time about, Jess Cena, right? Where it was that every challenge Jess faced, she overcame. And when we saw Jess win the title 2 Coliseums ago, we were already saying, wish they pulled the trigger a little bit earlier, but it's good that she finally has her moment. And then for all of that time, she's really only lost once, and it was to Chevs in a really big main event match where they beat the absolute piss out of each other, right? I think that there's definitely an element of the same thing that happened to John Cena exactly. We've seen Jess overcome everything, and it runs the risk of predictability, and it runs the risk of Jess feeling like the old guard who's taking spots from new people, even though Jess is the best. We're all agreed that Jess is a phenomenal pro wrestler, and that's never part of the question. It's just, do we need to have her get beat down in a Rumble and then come back to show that she has the indomitable fighting spirit of a champion? We've seen her win. We know that she's great. It's hard to say that she needs to be defended, or protected in terms of believability. because we know that Jess can win stuff. We've seen her win stuff, and I think it's okay for her to lose sometimes. And I want that to be the feeling. The only other issue I had with Jess
was Coliseum last year, where every match the title was on the line and she ran the gamut. And I was like, I feel like if the title hadn't been on the line, it would have been maybe a little bit more acceptable for people.
Yep.
But because, when the title's on the line, the opponent's going to go harder for it. So for her to then win it all was even more insurmountable. So I think that was the turning. If she had also the element of even lost 2 matches in, would have been fine.
Yeah, because there's also that element of it feels a little bit more predictable when there's a title on the line, because you can see, long overarching storylines, and you go, okay, well, they've got to book, is this a believable person to take the title? Right? So I think there's a lot of that where it felt like every match that Jess was in was a little bit predictable. Rose in the chat saying, I was genuinely excited to call a Dusk match and welcome him to PWA the right way. I'm a self-proclaimed Wrestle Rampage super fan. Couldn't be more there with your Rose. And it came through. Andy Savage says, are we really complaining about too much Jess Troy when PWA are only doing 5 to 6 Black Label shows a year? We really are spoiled in Australia. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Andy. Like, it's such a shame when people are feeling like someone like Troy is overexposed on those shows, especially because she's not on other shows. You know what I mean? If we were seeing Jess everywhere, then when those boos did come through, it would feel a little more justified. But I like seeing Jess. I guess I'm just hopeful for the booking to be a little more unpredictable for her, because at the moment it feels like the only thing she's got is climbing the mountain back to Chev's to take the title back. And that's not the most exciting thing in my brain, right?
Yeah, she kind of just needs to just move away from the main event scene for a bit, just to have a different story for a little while. And I think that will refresh her, and then everyone will be happy to go again.
I was saying that there was a little part of me that hoped Dusky would get the win, because the idea of Chevs versus Dusk in a hardcore match for that title would be very special. And I posted that on Twitter, and both Chevs and Dusk were very excited about that idea. I would love to see it happen. Rose also says, by that point in the match, the crowd was completely sold on Tuckman winning. So I think the boos for Jess was from people really wanting Tuckman to win. Yeah, it's Rey Mysterio at number 30 when there was no Daniel Bryan, right? They weren't booing Rey Mysterio. They're booing anyone who's not Daniel Bryan. It's the same thing. They were going to boo anyone who wasn't Tuckman, really. Or I think Braxton. Braxton could have gotten away with beating Tuckman. But those are your only options, and I think it's more important for Brax to have Coliseum. Alex Firehart says maybe have Jess challenge the winner of Robbie versus Tuckman. I think that'd be interesting.
Just pushing it to another title, and then you're going to have the same issue, I think.
Yeah.
She has to have like an emotional story, I think, now, not a title-backed story.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Either way, this Rumble was absolutely cracking. Like we said, it was an hour long, and it didn't feel an inch of it. Like, it was go to woe, absolute excellent action, exciting people in there. I was surprised by so many of the entrants, and they did a really good job of making everyone feel like they were important to the match. Even guys like Marley Paletti, who haven't been seen much in PWA, got to have awesome showings. Yeah, this was just a fantastic Rumble and a really good show, which is free on YouTube. So absolutely get amongst it. Go to YouTube, search for PWA. You'll find the King of the Metro there, and get amongst it, because it's a bloody good show. But that's not the only show that we've got to talk about.
Another little teaser face-off too between Brax and Robbie Thorpe that I really enjoyed in the Rumble too. So I'm hoping that maybe that's a Coliseum first rounder, or even better, a final.
I will say Robbie Thorpe, someone who I probably should have mentioned more how good he was in that match. Absolutely excellent stuff. And another person who is just so underrated is Backman. I thought Backman's performance was bloody excellent. Anyway, I could talk about that Rumble.
Was in here just as fodder. Everybody had a moment, and everybody showed out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex Fireheart says, I was almost surprised how few matches there were. Then remember the show was under 3 hours and the Rumble went so long. Yeah, a 4-match card with an hour-long Rumble. Like, you know, absolutely worth your time. Speaking
Also,
of worth your time.
Lucky to go an hour and win this. That kid's put in the work.
And the rig on him at the moment, unreal. Same with Scotty. Like, the work that they've been... Shout out Body Biz for revolutionizing the game. You know, yeah, this was just awesome stuff. But not the only Australian show we watched this week, because Renegades Indistructible has also popped onto YouTube this past week. That's right, it's free on YouTube. Search for Renegades of Wrestling. You'll be able to find Indistructible, which is marketed INDI Structible, because Indy Hartwell in the main event to defend that women's title. But there is much more than that on this show. This is almost the opposite of that King of the Metro show, which only went 4 matches, because I think this had 2, 4, 6, 9 matches along this card. An absolutely stacked show. Kicking it off with Rapid Fire, Ryan Rapid and JJ Furno defeating High Life, Kobe Reed and Will Walker, to cement their place in the tag division. What did you think of this as an opener, Jamie?
Good opener, better than their last opener. They didn't do too much this time around. They kind of stripped everything back and kept it pretty simple. And it was very much just kind of, let's really cement Rapid Fire as a legitimate tag team that could challenge for the titles.
Simple, but still high energy and fun. Yeah, I loved DCT on commentary. Gino obviously has done it once or twice before, you know, and Lindsay is just about the guy in Melbourne, you know, so great comment. Both of these shows, really excellent commentary, I will say. Like, you know, these commentary teams are just getting really, really good. So, you know, it's making guys like me and Matt have to really work for our jobs. But yeah, I agree. I think this was a really fun opener. I think Rapid Fire are excellent, right? They're a really fun tag team. I really liked what High Life were doing as the heels in this match, and I liked how fun they kept it without going over the top with anything. Great way to open the show with some energy. You know, I assume that this puts Rapid Fire in line for a tag team title feud. Would have to be the go here, which we'll talk about who's got those titles later in the show. But yeah, I think Rapid Fire are excellent. So anytime that you're putting them on my screen, I'm happy. Moving on, Ant Kava was accompanied by Camby in a match against the debuting TJ Wild. And of course, the story here is that the Kava lock is no longer the thing we're excited about. We're all about the Kava rack. Rack 'em and stack 'em. I'm unfortunately already getting sick of it as that storyline. Like, I don't find it an interesting enough move to be the whole story. I don't know if it's an inside joke that they're doing as the... I don't know. I can't understand what's going on there, really. So,
I think that sort of leans into my biggest critique with this match. It was just a couple of minutes too long, because we got the dirty start by TJ to kind of give a bit of false hope of like, oh, he's going to beat Kava in this one just because he's cheating and starting quickly. But then he kind of got a second win section, and after he got beat down a bit, he came back again, and then Kava came back again. I was like, okay, we've had too many momentum shifts. It was like, it's one of those ones where less is more. You don't always have to get all of your shit in, especially when the story is the Kava rack is the one that's going to finish it. If he just had TJ have the start, beat him down a bit, and then Kava gets the momentum back and then gets him in the rack and it's over, fine. It wouldn't have had any issues with it. It was just, it went back and forward one too many times.
Yeah, fully agree. Not that anything there was bad, but I think that a criticism that can be given a lot with wrestling is this would have been better if it was a minute or two shorter. And that definitely applies here. Moving on.
The rack 'em up at Wrestle Rock line on commentary.
Yeah, that's
a bit off color. Like, aren't the Renegade shows all ages?
I believe so.
Yeah, so there was a few moments on this show where I was like, pretty sure there's kids at this show. We shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I think Gino especially, I think is one to toe the line. So, interesting. Tag team matchup next in the women's division with the glow up Rochelle Rogan, Charlie Rose not managing to get the win after Ari Nicole and Aisha teamed up. Ari Nicole getting the pin here. I thought Ari Nicole looked fantastic here as someone who I haven't seen a lot of. She really showed out in this match. I thought the look was great. Everything she did looked crisp. I think the glow up have really cemented their place as heels. And Aisha is just doing everything that she needs to do in her role at the moment. I had a really good time with this match.
Yeah, me too. I like the sort of Ari trying to earn the respect of Aisha, and then Aisha kind of coming in and being like, no, this is how you do it properly. And then her having her moments.
And it was a great storyline that fed into what happened at the end of the show too.
Yeah, while this match was going on, I'm like, oh, we might be getting like a new tag team here of Ari and Aisha. I already had them dubbed as the A-list.
That's good.
That's out the window now, apparently.
But
I love the idea of the glow up kind of seeing a space in Australian wrestling to differentiate themselves too, because they are a legitimate tag team. They're not just two people paired together because that's the only way we're getting on this show. They are a women's tag team. I get the sense Renegades are maybe building to that, like a women's tag division, because they've got 3-4 teams that they could put out at any time.
Because you've got them, you've got Starlux, you've got what happened at the end of this show. Like there's a lot of stuff leading in that direction that I don't mind at all. And there's definitely now enough women in the scene where you can reasonably put those kinds of, divisions together. I really like this as a match. I think it did pretty much everything right. I really enjoyed it. I think the burn book gimmick for the glow up is it's such an obvious slam dunk. I don't know why you don't see that gimmick everywhere. Like it just feels like, oh, you've got your spooky guy, you've got your punk, and you've got your girls with a burn book. Like those are the things that should just be in every indie show. So I think that they're doing excellent work there. After that,
I don't know if I would have had Ari get the pin. I think Aisha get it just to be like, calm down, kid. Like I'm still the one that knows how to win these matches. You aren't quite here.
I liked Ari getting the pin because it put that, little bit of spark in Aisha, and you saw it at the end when the ref went to raise Ari's hand and Aisha had to go, no, you raise my hand too. Like, I think character-wise, it fed in really nicely. I see what you're saying. I think, like, either way could have been done well. I quite liked the way they did it. I thought it was nice.
Especially at the end of the show, it makes more sense that Ari got the win.
Exactly. After this one, JXT managing to get the win over Jake Andrew Arthur OLY after using a full triple whammy of cheating tactics. That's right. It was a take the cover off the turnbuckle and then get a weapon hit and then get your feet up on the ropes for the cover. Like, the man knows how to make it clear that he's a heel right now. And everyone's behind Jake Andrew Arthur OLY. I think originally the idea of this gimmick was to be an annoying heel gimmick, and it's just so much fun, and the crowd is behind it, that they've done a great job of pivoting and making JXT the heel and Jake the baby face here. I liked this match, but it's less that I liked the back and forth of the match and more that I liked all of the things that they're doing with this storyline. I think it all fits well. What did you think?
Yeah, JXT is a brilliant heel. Like, you can see why he's such a good trainer, because he has been a great babyface. He's now being a great heel and just doing all basic stuff, like just slowing everything down, getting rid of all of his big flashy moves. He makes the crowd really want to hate him just by not doing a lot of stuff, which is great. The older you get, that's the way you want to do. Work smarter, not harder. The sweeping bit took a bit too long, but what are you going to do? They're trying to sweep up a whole bunch of
They do have to sweep, unfortunately.
But yeah, really enjoyable match. And it was this match and then the tag match that really made me question. Renegades is an all ages show because we had Bastard Brothers promo full of swearing.
Yep.
We had a Riley Reid reference in this match. Also references to Bukakis and Golden Showers. I was like, what are we
on the all ages show? Yeah. So I think that there's definitely some question marks there. But, you know, some things aren't for everyone. And you know.
And also this show, 9-match card over, it was like 2.5 hours long show. It kind of, there were points where I was like, we could have maybe cut a couple of these things and got this to an under 2-hour show. Like PWA 5, and they were right on 2 hours, and it was brilliant. This show maybe cut 1 or 2 and just had a nice tight 2 hours is really great fun.
I wonder if you could have done everything that this match did without the match.
Yep.
Right? I know that, like, Andrew Arthur hasn't had a lot of in-ring action lately. He's mostly been doing the gimmick. And I love seeing Jake wrestle. But this is one of those spots where if you had cut the wrestling out of this and just had Jake get the big OLY and the big confetti cannons and JXT's just pissed off at him and just beats him with the stick and leaves with the medals, I wonder if that would have done basically just as much in a much shorter time frame.
And the issue is I think that's what they did in the last show.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a lot of wrestling. Which is a terrible thing to complain about, but because if you're the fans in the building, you know, buying a ticket and getting to see 9 high-quality matches is bloody excellent, because none of the matches on this show were bad. I think everything delivered. It's just that, you know, when you go and watch it the same week that you've got an excellent PWA show, also free on YouTube, like, it gets to the point where efficiency is valuable, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's just like by the end of the show, I'm looking at it being like, well, maybe if we'd cut this match. The other one that I would have taken was Ugg and Robbie Hart, just so that Ugg's appearance later had a bit more of a special, like, surprise pop to it. So, like, it was only like 1 or 2 things that I would have got rid of just to tighten it up and heighten.
Yeah, it'd feel a little bit bloated, if anything. Moving on, though, a Renegades Tag Team Championship match with the Bastard Brothers, Crackerjack and Gore, managing to defeat the Ambush, Jarvis and Murdoch, to become the new Renegades Tag Team Champions. This felt like a Gore showcase. Like, I enjoy what Crackerjack does, and he got a lot of color in this match. That man was red. But, man, Gore is just a bloody excellent professional wrestler. I love everything the Ambush do. Crackerjack being a sympathetic guy who got the tar beaten out of him and was bleeding, I think plays really well into having Bastard Brothers as the baby faces. You have Gore as just a monster. You have Crackerjack as a guy that's kind of like you, who's going to use a staple gun, and that's funny. And you have the crowd want to see him get back up and get the title. I think this was done really well. I think everyone involved knew what they could do well, and they did it well. I think they nailed this.
Yeah, very fun. I thought it was a bit of a sudden finish for the end of a 500+ day reign.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, didn't feel like it was built up long enough for this to be the end of the reign. And then when it happened, I was like, does this not book Renegades into a bit of a weird spot with the Bastard Brothers as face champs, with Rapid Fire seemingly coming through the ranks?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely on fire. So are we going to have a face versus face tag match, and then the Ambush are just going to come in and make sure nobody wins?
Maybe, like, yeah, it's
Highlight going to get involved. Like, it's just a weird situation now. Like, there's no clear direction for the tag division.
I do think that Renegades was booked a little bit into a corner in terms of the Ambush generally, right? Like, if you look at what happened with, obviously, Emin having to leave very suddenly, and then when you get access to Indy Hartwell, you want to put the belt on her to get that extra exposure, and then that kind of just leaves you with Jarvis and Murdoch holding these tag titles after a long reign where they've had dominance over the company, and that's kind of just where they are. There's not much surrounding them, whereas you would think that kind of what would have been more likely would be that you would see the building blocks starting to get chipped away at the ambush, and people would be building up, and there'd be people coming for the tag titles, and then whoever's coming for the main champ is helping them. But that just kind of all fell away circumstantially, you know. Alex Fireheart says, I could see it as face versus face at the start and Crackers getting annoyed and turning heel. I do wonder how much a Renegades crowd will be there for heel Crackerjack and Gore, because they're a very loved act. I definitely think they are the ones that are easier to turn. I think Rapid Inferno, on the babyface ascent that they're currently on, I don't think you mess with that. But everyone in Melbourne loves Crackers and Gore. I don't know how much you can turn the Bastard Brothers.
Yeah. And like the Bastard Brothers are kind of established as well. So I don't know how much they needed to beat the 500-day plus team. Like, I feel like Rapid Fire would have been my choice to do that, because they've been building over the last few months of, this is kind of a team that just kind of came together and they've started to gel and now they're doing awesome things. Like, I would have just built them up and had them win it at a big show after months of building up to, okay, now we're finally getting the shot, and them getting it.
And you have, when you have the Bastard Brothers that are like a very loved team, and you have the Ambush that are pure heels, this is another opportunity to go, hey, look how terrible the Ambush are. Don't you want to see the titles taken from them? Here's Rapid Fire, right? Just have them cheat, get the win over the Bastard Brothers, turn, you know, the Bastard Brothers staple gun against them, or whatever you do. You know what I mean? Alex Fireheart says, almost wonder if something happened to where they had to make the change now rather than this having been plan A. That there feels like there might be something to that, Alex. It is hard to know. Anyway, moving on. A number one contendership winner takes all match with Lockie Hendricks managing to defeat Sam Yanis after a dusty finish, with Hector Jones putting the boot of Lockie on the bottom rope at the last possible second, decision getting reversed, match getting restarted, and then a post-match just beat down from Cutthroat Hector Jones on Sam Yanis that, for me, almost got uncomfortable with how much it was just him beating on Yanis. Like, we were talking about the show not feeling very tight. He beat on Yanis for a long time. But I think that works for this Lockie Hendricks stable, right? It has to be, like, vicious to the point of almost being uncomfortable.
Yeah, they don't know when to stop, essentially. Someone has to stop them. Yeah. I liked the start of this, like, being really technical, but then it kind of, again, it just dragged a little bit too long of, like, kind of just feels like we're stuck in first gear for a bit. And it wasn't until Lockie hit the slap, like, oh, okay, now we've got that fire that I've been looking for. And then, the ending was just a little bit overcomplicated and convoluted for me. There was just a bit too much of, like, interference, new ref bump, foot on the rope.
3 count. Original ref catches the foot on the... Yeah, it's a lot.
And as the show went on, we had even more feet on the rope spots to break up pins. I like, did nobody talk about what their finishes were in this show? Because they repeated the same things over and over in the last half of this show.
Yep. See, I really like a foot on the rope. I think that it's underdone in wrestling because it shows that someone's, like, experienced and kind of out, but able to hang in there in a clever way. But, like Roddy Online says, watch the monitor, right? There comes a point where, because it happened...
Shit, finish.
Yep. You had the manager put the foot on the ropes in this match, and then in the next match, the manager puts the foot on the ropes. And then in the main event, the champ puts the foot on the ropes, and then the challenger puts the foot on the ropes. It happened 4 times in the last 3 matches.
Yeah.
Right? So again, I love seeing it happen. I would love for it to generally happen more often. If it had happened spread throughout the show 4 times, maybe that would be different. But 4 times in the last 3 matches is very interesting. Especially after, like we said before, JXT didn't get disqualified for having the feet on the ropes when he won. You know what I mean? Like, so much going on there. Andy says it's such a stereotypical Dusty finish. I feel like you need to be a bit more creative than this. Look, I didn't mind it, but I think if they were going to do that much nonsense, I would have liked the match to just have been a bit shorter. Like, is all that I'm at. You know what I mean?
Even just the post-match beatdown was enough to get the heat that you wanted. Yeah. So I don't know if we needed all of these moving parts that built to the finish. We could have just had ref distraction, quick roll-up, Lockie Hendricks, beatdown.
Yeah, and Alex Fireheart says, especially when the show is under 3 hours, doing that spot that many times on the same night is a bit much. It's not even on a 3-hour show. It's that all of those happened, I reckon, within the last hour. Like, it was like within every 15 minutes for the last hour, there was a foot on the rope spot that was like important to the flow of the match. It was crazy.
And Robbie Hart was the only one that didn't have that match in the last 4 matches.
Yeah, right. Speaking of the match after this, Robbie Hart, unfortunately defeated by Caveman Ugg, who is climbing his way back up to that title that he lost. Robbie Hart, I think, making an excellent choice to not have the face paint on in this match and to just look like a grizzled veteran who knows what he's doing. And if anyone has a chance to take down this monster, it's this old hunter. I liked that a lot. What did you think of Ugg versus Robbie, Jamie?
Yeah, this was a good, like, breather match of, like, just meat. 2 guys beating on each other. Ugg is a freakishly powerful human being, the way he was just throwing Hart around, who's not a small man.
Hart's a big guy.
And he was just getting lobbed around like he was Paris de Silva. So that was very fun to see. Like I said earlier, this one I maybe could have just cut and had Ugg make the save later and be more of a surprise. Especially because it's the very next match.
I fully agree, but I agree with the caveat that I really liked this match, right? Like, the actual, like, bell to bell, I thought was bloody excellent. And this is the kind of match that I can watch all day and night. I thought Robbie was excellent, played his role perfectly. Ugg never misses. I really enjoyed everything that was going on here. I don't know if it was necessary, but I loved it. I will just an ongoing thing with Ugg where he has fixed something that I don't think was broken, which is he does a signature spot, which is a leaping, twisting double chop. And for a while there, it was getting closer to a leaping, twisting crossbody.
Yep.
And he's now fixed it to be the chop again. I liked it more as a crossbody. He's such a big dude that when it looks like a crossbody and he's flying through the air and spinning at 100 and whatever kilos he is, you go, Jesus Christ. But then he just jumps.
It seems more impactful as a crossbody than just a double chop.
But then he jumps in the air and is just kind of like hitting you while he's doing it. I don't mind it, but I did like it better when he was doing it, quote unquote, incorrectly, you know? So that's something that I thought I would mention. Alex Fireheart in the chat says, oh, so that's what Robbie Hart looks like these days. Haven't seen a shot of him without face paint since he came to Queensland a bit like close to 20 years ago. And I fully agree, Alex. When he came out, I had this moment of, you know, like, who's this dude? Like, have we got an old grizzled vet that I didn't know about? And then the name Robbie Hart came up, and I'm like, oh, that's Robbie without the face paint.
And I think that's smart too. Like, when you're going against Ugg, you don't need another gimmick heavy guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Robbie was excellent here. And like, it gave it that little bit of extra surprise when he pulled the mist out as well, and it felt like, a weird, like, he's got to try every tactic he can. I thought that was just great stuff. Into the co-main events here with the Renegades World Championship on the line. Mitch Waterman managing to defeat Tyson Reed to retain the Renegades World title after Caveman Ugg gets involved after a ref bump. Chloe St. James was picture perfect here. Her getting ejected from the match sent the crowd sky high. I think Mitch and Tyson did everything that they needed. I'll mention quickly, Andy just put in the chat, sitting in the crowd, his lack of makeup flattened me a bit. I didn't understand why. Still don't. Very interesting there, Andy. I understand that Lockie Hendricks is the number one contender, and the story is Lockie and Mitch. Like, that's so clearly the story. It breaks my heart a little bit that Tyson Reed right now didn't get to win this title and become just peak bastard, because I think everything he has done over the last half dozen shows has been perfect. He has been an absolute jerk. He's one of the few characters where there's moments where I forget that I'm watching a wrestling show. I go, what a prick. I hate that guy. And then I'm like, oh, he's getting me. He's doing the thing. And him and Chloe just nailed that every time. I think that there were I would have loved to. I understand why it's not the moment, and Mitch and Lockie is the story going forward. But man, I would have really loved to have seen Tyson Reed right now be the Renegades champion, because I love what he's been doing.
Yeah, I guess, because Lockie is the number one contender, the person he has to go against has to have the belt. But like, you could have continued that story and had Lockie cost Mitch this match, and then had them go off. But then, because he's the number one contender, what do you do with that? Like, you're in that weird stuck spot again. But like you said, Tyson and Chloe together, they are the ultimate heel team, because Tyson's great. He doesn't do anything flashy, doesn't try to be cool. He just does the total opposite. He's constantly barking at the crowd and really getting under their skin. And then Chloe adds to it with her just chiming in with the perfect little quips at just the right time. Do you know, is Chloe trained, or is she good to like take bumps and stuff?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure.
I haven't seen her take any, and it's getting to the point where I'm like, the moment she finally gets like beat down by someone and taken like their finishing move, it's going to get the biggest reaction from the crowd, because everybody just wants to see her get slapped in the mouth.
Yep, 100%. And like, that's something that Todd has talked about a lot, like holding those things back until the last possible minute, and if that's what she's doing, she's nailing it. But yeah, I am not 100% sure. I had it in my head that she has worked matches before, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, she might have worked against Tali, or with Tali. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the moment where, like, in a Tyson match, she finally gets a bit of comeuppance from someone that's going to really get the crowd into it. And then their heel personas contrasted so well with Mitch, with his kind of indie-rific, high-flying, crowd-entertaining style. So, yeah, this was, I think this is my favorite match on the card. Like, these two together were brilliant. It was a shame about the foot on the rope spot, but I did like commentary sort of pointing out that, it's Edwin and he missed it before, so that's why he saw it this time, because he was looking for it. So they covered it a little bit. And punching Edwin is always a guaranteed way to get some real big heat in Melbourne. So perfect. Tyson.
I'll just confirm that within the last few months, Chloe has posted about being a wrestler in training. So maybe not quote unquote ring ready yet, but like the work she's been doing is just phenomenal. So when she does take that big bump, that crowd's going to erupt.
That Renegades crowd is going to lose their shit.
Yeah. And just imagine if it's like a Fire Thunder driver from UGG or something, because that could very feasibly be what this next feud is, Lockie's got Waterman and now Tyson Reed has Caveman UGG, And
if anyone's going to give you a move when you're sort of fresh on the scene of like, please don't hurt me, UGG's going to not kill you.
Very Caveman UGG, Rip Riley, going along those lines, you can feel okay, But yeah, I agree. This was my match of the night too. I thought they nailed everything that they did. And the only complaint I have is the work Tyson and Chloe have been doing, I think needs to be recognized. Like, not that it is not being recognized, but they could have an absolute mozza of a heel title run right now.
It's almost moving. Like need a mid-card title. Because Tyson as your heel mid-card champion would be perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe faces come up against Tyson Reed. Awesome.
Yep. And then, if you do decide to give that mid-card title to a JXT or a Jake Andrew Arthur, then you can have people like where's Jarvis getting his where's Murdoch getting his singles matches to shine? Right? Imagine Murdoch going for a mid-card singles title in Renegade. Like, there's so much opportunity there. I think it would be excellent stuff. Anyway, not to get too bogged down in this, because there is still a Women's World Championship match that we got to talk about, where Indy Hartwell managed to defeat Tali to retain that Renegade Women's World Championship. But did need to use the title belt in order to make it happen, laying Tali straight into that belt for the finish. Raising Tali's hand after the match, but then, going for the handshake after the match, but then after that, just nailing her in the back of the head with the title. Then it looked like a save was going to get made because Aisha came out, with Ari Nicole, the two of them came out, but then Aisha turned on Ari, and so we had Indy and Aisha beating down those two, and then kind of the rest of the women on the roster came out, more or less. So I think that the setup here, ending with Indy Hartwell standing tall, but a very chaotic scene for the women's division at the end of Renegades. What did you think of this match and the aftermath?
I enjoyed this one. Not quite to the level of the previous world title match, but they were both awesome. I loved the classic cinema finish where Tali was on her hands and knees looking at the title like, what is it going to take for me to get this? And then Indy capitalizes on that and finishes her, kind of cementing her heel turn, which is obviously was going to always be very hard for Renegades to do as the quote-unquote fly-in international now. Coming back was always going to get cheered. So nice to see that turn. Indy really showed her WWE polish in this. She slowed everything down, let moments breathe, and kind of let the crowd soak stuff in.
There was a lot to like here. I think that this was really, really well done. And I'm glad to see that Renegades is able to keep these kinds of stories interesting, right? Like, it would be really easy for this to just kind of be nothing and the person with the big name wins and then they go overseas for a while and hold the title. And but it's not that. Like, there's genuinely interest happening here with what's going on with Indy. So I think that that's really excellent. So it seems like kind of our feeling on this show was that despite it being a lot, it's hard to say that anything shouldn't have been there because it was all really good, right?
Yeah, and I'm very intrigued by this women's division. There is so many opportunities here of what do we do? Like, who's going where? Who's going after the title? Are we building a women's tag team division? Because we have those teams. There was promos afterwards that have happened where they've had an Indy and Aisha together promo, kind of teasing that are they forming the impressively first class tag team. We also had
Get in there with the names, Jamie. Get in.
I'm claiming them. And then Indy was approached by the Glow Up backstage because they wanted her to write anything that she wanted to write in the burn book. And she just laughed at them like, are you 12? So I think it's cool that there are, and to have the women be the main event, everyone standing tall, they all got to showcase at the end of, we have a good team tag division, women's division here. So there's lots of angles there. And shout out to Mikey for that hype package for Tali before this match. I legitimately thought Tali was winning.
Yeah.
And I knew that she didn't.
Yeah. I was in this. I know that she didn't win. And then I saw that package and I'm like, oh, they're putting it on her. Like, how? Yeah. Unreal stuff. Alex Feihart in the chat.
Hardy running up that hill video package. He's winning.
Alex Feihart says, would not have expected Aisha aligning with Indy, but I guess stranger things have happened. But then as Andy Savage says, it was both strange and interesting that Aisha comes out with Ari, turns on her, and didn't touch Tali. She didn't actually do anything to help Indy. I think that's a storyline beat. And if you watched on the stage, Indy's there holding the title, and Aisha is standing beside her, looking at her and looking at the belt with a look that's not exactly friendship. So very interesting
your
stuff.
friends close, but your enemies closer type thing.
Yeah, exactly. And Wild Angel says with a question mark, ladies' war games? Like they're building some stuff there. So it is absolutely worth checking out Renegades of Wrestling's Indistructible, which you can catch for free on YouTube. Check the description to get a link or go to YouTube, search for Renegades of Wrestling. It's right there. Watch it for free. Same with PWA King of the Metro. Like, if you're not keeping up with Australian wrestling right now, you're just missing out because it's there, accessible, and it's bloody excellent. Excuse me while I cough. There is so much good Aussie wrestling going on, and there's probably some going on in your neck of the woods this weekend. In fact, a special shout out to Michael Lee at the Australian Wrestling Community Facebook page, who actually sent me an early message this week with all of the shows going up. So thank you, Michael. We absolutely love what you do. If you're in South Australia, get along to Pro Wrestling South Australia's Super Slam on Saturday, July 5th. If you are in Victoria, right now you are missing PCW's Evolution, which is happening tonight as we speak. But there's more wrestling this weekend because tomorrow night, Friday, July 4th, is Adrenaline Pro Wrestling's Breakout 57. Saturday, July 5th is a show that we're going to talk about, MCW's Ballroom Brawl. If you haven't got a ticket to that, if you can't make it to that show, maybe you can make it to Peak Pro Wrestling, because on Saturday, July 5th, they have Murder Mystery Karaoke Wrestling, Where in the World is Happy Kai, a title for a show that is just unbelievable. Murder Mystery Karaoke Wrestling going up against Ballroom Brawl. So no matter what kind of wrestling you want to see, it's covered. And over in Western Australia, on Friday, July 4th, there's Dude, Where's My Rings Democracy Manifest. And then on the Saturday, July 5th, on Saturday, July 5th is EPW's Evolution. So, like, wrestling's stacked at the moment. Australian wrestling has so much going on. A quick ticket update for Ballroom Brawl. Over 12,000 tickets have been sold. 1,200 tickets have been sold. 1,200.
Oh, Jesus. Outselling AEW over there.
1,200 tickets sold in Melbourne for the Ballroom Brawl. I believe there are a couple of general admission tickets still available at mcwtix.com.au. So if you want to get along to it, get onto it now, because it's going to be a sellout, 100%. They've already sold 1,200 tickets. They can only hold so many people. It's an event suitable for all ages. It's going to have an Intercommonwealth title match with Adam Brooks versus Lucky O'Leary. It's got a Ricky South versus Tommy Knight match where the winner is going to enter the Ballroom Brawl last. It's got number one contendership tournament final for the tag team titles with Mitch Waterman and Ryan Rapid up against Amp Cava and the Clydesdale. Winners become number one contenders for the MCW tag team titles. Mixed tag action with Erica Reed and Caveman Ugg versus Culture, Eugenie and Moko Kai, with the women's champ on one side and the men's champ on the other. There's also the Sacrament with Edward Dusk taking on Rocky Monero. With on the line, if Edward Dusk can win that, he gets the match of his choice. But if Monero wins, Dusk will be demoted to the small time. And then the main event, the Ballroom Brawl 30-man Rumble. What an absolutely stacked show. Now, Jamie, you and I are in an unfortunate spot. We're about to have to make some predictions. Now, we've got predictions coming from the other members of the Wrestle Radio Australia team. We've had Jeff Setti believes that the winner is going to be Edward Dusk. Now, Edward Dusk has been told that he is not in the Ballroom Brawl. So, for it to happen, there is the possibility that if Dusk beats Monero, he can have any match he wants. And he could say, I want to be in Ballroom Brawl. It's possible. Who knows? Yeah, I don't think it'll happen. I'm giving Jeff the benefit of the doubt.
A world title match. I'm going to put myself in a Rumble and give myself a 1 in 30 chance.
Yeah. We've got Ballroom Brawl predictions from Todd, whose main prediction is Thorpe, or his Smokey is one Duke Hudson, which, what a pick for a potential winner there in Duke. Jamie, do you have a prediction for the winner of the Ballroom Brawl?
See, Edward Dusk was the first person that popped to my mind. I didn't realize there was that I can't be in the Rumble stipulation. I'm going to go with Todd. I'm picking Robbie Thorpe. I think we're getting back-to-back one to the end winners of Rumbles.
It'd be really cool to see, and especially Robbie would be an awesome person to win it, especially because the champ at the moment, Caveman Ugg, very clearly a babyface, so it makes sense for a heel to come in and win. Andy Savage says, I think Tommy loses to Ricky, but ultimately wins the Rumble. There's an interesting prediction, having Tommy Knight manage to win despite not getting that last position. That'd be very cool. I think it needs to be a heel win, which is weird at the moment because of how many huge baby faces are there, right? So I don't know, because, you've got someone like Ricky South, who he just lost the title, presumably because he's going to Canada. You've got someone like Slex, who I don't know if Slex is healthy at the moment. I don't know if he's able to win. I also think it would be a little bit...
winning is just kind of rewinding back to what we just had with him being the champ. So
exactly. So I'm really torn, because it feels like a lot of the good predictions for winners are baby faces, whereas it feels like a heel needs to win. So I might even go all in and take Todd Smokey as my main pick and say Duke Hudson coming out, returning to Australian Pro Wrestling after some awesome promos for a little while, and claiming a shot at the MCW title, because, hey, MCW Duke versus...
do love a return Ballroom Brawl too.
They do love a return to win the Ballroom Brawl. So there we go. There's our picks locked down for the Ballroom Brawl. And
another smoky one that I could see them going with would be Rocky Monero.
I had the thought as well.
And then the stipulation being, if Ugg wins, what's their faction called?
Icons?
The Icons are gone. They have to disband and split up. I could see that potentially being a thing where Rocky wins, challenges, but Ugg's like, fine, but if I win, you guys are out of here. Yeah.
There is one more possibility, and it's that, and I don't know how it would happen, but could Ugg be an icon? Could Ugg turn? Just because the big story at the moment feels like the ascension of Edward Dusk, and his roadblock has been icons, right?
Yeah.
So as much as UG is the champ, it feels like the story that we're building to is Dusk taking the title from the icons, right? Like, Alex Fireheart in the chat says pipe dream chance to win, even though it won't happen. 13 will not win the Rumble, but I love 13. I do hope that we see more of 13 getting those big shots in MC Dub, because he's the kind of person who would do well in that position. I just don't think it's going to happen soon. Matty Huss has just predicted Tuckman for back-to-back Rumble wins. Sorry there, Jamie, in different feds.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be sick.
If Rocky wins the Rumble, Rocky beats UG, thanks to the icons, and then you have Dusk come back.
I don't mind the Rocky prediction. It's and Wild Angel with a great call. Wild Angel says, I shall join the Pipe Dream team. Erica Reed. That's actually a great call.
Yeah, because if you have Ducker, then
that's right. Eugene just continue to say, I'm not giving you a title shot. You have her and Moko somehow win the tag match and say, now there's no way that you can get a title shot. And Erica Reed enters the Rumble and wins. Andy Savage says, didn't UG have a reaction online to Don Farley joining House of Torture? Something about going his own way? That's very true. That was a little more targeted at New Japan, but we'll see. I don't know. That could be interesting.
Yeah. I feel like the Ballroom Brawl is much more open in my eyes than the PWA King of the Metro. From the moment Tucky was number one and the King of the Metro, I was like, that's my guy. Tucky's going coast to coast. Ballroom Brawl, whereas it could be anyone. And I'd be like, makes sense.
That's the thing. Like, it could be Buddy Matthews. You know what I mean? Like, that's the level of people that have... Yeah, but, like, he showed up in one Ballroom Brawl not that long ago.
It is right? He just come in and toss someone.
Like, who knows, you know? So there's a lot of potential. So absolutely check out the Ballroom Brawl this Saturday night, July 5th. Get amongst it. And just while we're talking about what's going on around Australia, I know that it got talked about last week, but I do want to mention the EPW School of Pro Wrestling Camp, October 7th to 9th, and the Roxy Riot Pro Wrestling Scholarship, free admission that's being offered exclusively for a passionate female pro wrestler. Head on over to the EPW socials to get amongst that. But shout out to EPW, shout out to Do the Work PT, EPW School of Wrestling, World Beater Wrestling. Shout out to Wrestle Gabby, who was awesome fun in the PWA Rumble chat last weekend. Love your work, Gabby. Awesome stuff there. There's just so much great stuff going on in Australian wrestling at the moment, but there's also a ton of stuff going on in wrestling in other countries. Have you heard about this, Jamie?
A little bit, yeah.
Apparently they're wrestling in places other than Australia, believe it or not. Look, I clearly need to get my notes in order so that we can talk about that, which means that, you know what would have been a good idea? For me to come up with something to put on during the break. That would have been a good idea, hey?
That, might have helped.
Okay, so we are going to go for a very quick break, and we will be back right after this.
Do you want to be a pro wrestler? Then sign up now to the Relentless School of Pro Wrestling.
Located 50 minutes west of Melbourne with a full gym, strength and conditioning coaches, a nutritionist, and world-traveled professional wrestling coaches to help you achieve your goals in the professional wrestling business. Whether you want to be a wrestler, a manager, referee, or just involved in the industry, with no tryout required, the Relentless School of Pro Wrestling is here to help you achieve your goals.
All you have to do to start your journey is sign up now to be relentless.
Empty chairs, woo! Content, hey! So, welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, because I only had a 1-minute thing to slam on there. So everyone who's live in the chat right now, what are you thinking about wrestling at the moment? Obviously, you can see with Todd away, I didn't have much of a chance to put things together. So we're flying by the seat of our pants at the moment. We're having a nice little break while Jamie's away. I've got my lovely sparkling water ready to go for the second half. Yeah, my boy running, says Roddy online. I had motion. And Jamie's back too. Jamie, I'm just vamping. Don't stress, mate. I was full pace. Yeah, I clicked on a thing. I thought it had run longer. It did not run longer is the answer there.
I bet I had to go, Bobby.
I could have put on the break from last show, but I think it was talking a lot about show that has already happened with some PWA stuff. So no point putting that on, right?
That's true.
Roddy online with a great question. Who's your favorite comedy gimmick in Oz? I think the best comedy gimmicks start to transcend comedy, right? So, like, Tuckman kind of had a comedy gimmick, and he hasn't changed his gimmick.
I do like Third Eye.
Third Eye is such great fun. I'm an old school Xander Sullivan fan. He was one of the people that I really got into coming into Australian wrestling. So I'm very biased when it comes to Third Eye. Anyway, we're both back, which means we can crack into it. Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show, where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And speaking of around the world of wrestling, WWE put on a show recently in a place where I would not like to go. That's right, Riyadh! So Night of Champions happened, and as is tradition for these Saudi Arabia shows, I did not watch it, which means let's run through the results purely theoretically. That's right. First off was the Men's King of the Ring final with Cody Rhodes defeating Randy Orton. I don't think you could have any other result other than Cody being King of the Ring at the moment. Like, it was Cody or Jay. They're the only two that they both needed wins, and Cody, I think, especially needed it to be back and not feel like he lost anything. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who else you would have had take that. Unless you were going to, like, try and elevate, like, a Grayson Waller or something. It had to be Cody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it had to be Cody. After that was a Riyadh Boulevard street fight where Rhea Ripley defeated Raquel Rodriguez in a match that a lot of the reports I've heard are Raquel looked bloody fantastic in this match. Like, really physically taking Rhea to the limit, made both of them look excellent. Rhea is a force unto herself, right? Anything that Rhea's in is money.
Mm-hmm. I did see they had a cool, like, table spot in the corner of the ring, like up on the ropes. I was like, that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, neat. Sami Zayn defeated Karrion Kross with Scarlett. It's hard with Karrion at the moment because I love everything he is doing in theory, but there's just so much like lack of follow through on what his character is, on what he can do in the ring. I don't necessarily think he should have beaten Sammy here, but at the same time, I don't know what he's doing if he's losing to Sammy. You know what I mean?
He's trying his hardest, and management are kind of like, we don't see you that way, so just do this. I did see he took it back though, so
he did.
We can stop that. He takes back bumps occasionally.
There was also a WWE United States title change with Solo Sikoa defeating Jacob Fatu. What do you think of Solo Sikoa as the new US champion after Jacob Fatu has had it for what felt like 6 minutes?
I have zero opinion on this because I have not watched any of them since they debuted. Sounds cool to me.
Yeah. I get it. But I think Fatu just wins the title back off Solo, so I don't really care.
Didn't you have like someone debut as part of that win too?
Yeah, well, JC Mateo, was probably there, right?
No, like not Tangaloa, the big tall one. Hikuleo.
Right.
Didn't he debut for this?
Probably. Hey, aren't we a good wrestling podcast?
Yeah.
Woo!
I think Hikuleo debuted as part of that, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
More blood
And then Queen of the Ring final for the women, Jade Cargill defeating Asuka. Little bit disappointing for me. I really would have liked to have seen Asuka get the win in this one, you know, coming back through. But, you know, sometimes that is what it is.
Thank you, Alex. I knew I knew something.
Yeah, there we go. Alex Fireheart saying Hikuleo debuted as part of it. Yeah. Did you watch it, Alex? You can be our person on the inside. We need someone desperately.
Yeah, Jade beating Asuka, like, I guess it's fine. They see a lot in Jade. I guess it lets them continue the Jade Trinity storyline, so I guess we go that way.
Yeah, you probably have her interfere in the resulting title match. Anyway, and then in an undisputed WWE title match, John Cena defeated CM Punk. And I think the most important thing that came out of this match was Lil Nate recreated the sprinting to the ring down the big ramp spot. And then took a bump. So that's neat. Yeah, it feels like...
This match was not good.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I heard that it was just way too long for what these guys can do these days, which doesn't surprise me. I know that it's not interesting to hear people talk about what they thought of wrestling matches that they didn't watch, but really, when WWE is going to continue doing these Saudi Arabia shows, you're just not going to get eyes from us. And I know I had a conversation the other day about what it's going to be like with the Rumble next year, considering that's going to be in Saudi Arabia. Maybe if someone's already hosting a Rumble watch, I might go along. I'm not going to add an extra stream to it, I'll tell you that much. But, you know, we'll see. Roddy Online says the main was the only thing I watched. It was a fun match. Alex Fireheart said, had to step away, but I've never watched the Saudi shows. I just watched a what happened at video. Lol. Yeah, I do. Even less than that, Alex. Roddy says... Yeah, Roddy says it wasn't a classic, but did a good job. Look, I think the Cena matches at the moment are going to follow a formula. It's going to be some pretty plotting matches until they get to the big interference spot, and then Cena wins long, which is the way that they're getting heat, and it's going to continue to work, right?
It's the way that every WWE main event is, though. It's cinema wrestling, and then interference, bullshit, he'll win.
Yep, okay. That's pretty much it. We do have new tag team champions, though. New world tag team champions, with the New Day being defeated on Raw by the Judgment Day, who are now tag team champs. Which, why did we do this? Right? Because, like, I understand that you needed to give a heel New Day some credibility, so you give them the title. But then if that wasn't to serve anything with Big E coming back, or an actual tag team storyline where someone works up and beats them, why did we have them be champions for this long? And why did they get the match on WrestleMania instead of that TLC match? Like, I don't get this. I know that a lot of plans had to be changed due to Liv Morgan's injury, and she had a lot of stuff going on with Judgment Day. Maybe this was to do with that? Question mark, but mostly I'm just confused.
Yeah, it seems like we need something for this Raw. This will work.
Yeah, and there were not many matches on the Raw either. So, like, there was a big long main event, and there was this big title match, and that was kind of it. So, that's really interesting. But WWE have a lot of programming upcoming. So let's run through what shows you'll be able to catch with WWE coming up. Saturday, July 12th. So 1 week from this Saturday, we've got a double header with the NXT Great American Bash on during the day. That one's got, for the NXT Championship, Obafemi defending against Yoshiki Inamura from Noah, which I know that Alex Fireheart will probably be excited about. There's also going to be an NXT Women's North American Championship match with Sol Ruka versus Izzy Dame, and Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe in a tag match against Fatal Influence. JC Jane and Fallon Henley, as well as probably another match or two on that card. Later that night is going to be Saturday night's main event. So once again, Saturday, July 12th, that one's going to have the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther defending against Jeff's favorite wrestler Goldberg, as well as a one-on-one between LA Knight and Seth Rollins. The day after that, though, yeah, that's happening.
What is that storyline?
It's there. The day after that is Evolution. This is Sunday, July 13th. Yeah, did you know Evolution's only a week and a half away? Because it seems like WWE didn't until this week.
Like
that one's going to have... That one's going to have a Women's World Championship match with Io Sky defending against Rhea Ripley. Then it's going to have a WWE Women's Championship match with Tiffany Stratton defending against Trish Stratus. It's going to have an NXT Women's Championship match with JC Jane defending against Jordan Grace. It's going to have a Women's Tag Team Championship match with Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez defending against 3 teams. There's going to be 1 team from Raw, 1 team from SmackDown, and also the team of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. There's also going to be a Battle Royale for a Women's World Championship match at Clash in Paris. So that will presumably be against either Io Sky or Rhea Ripley, depending on who walks out of Evolution with the title. Wild Angel says, imagine being Motor City Machine Guns and watching this Judgment Day nonsense go down. Yeah, I'm with you there, Wild Angel.
Probably think that they're on the opposite brand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We are officially 1 month away from a huge show. SummerSlam is going to 2 nights this year, following in the path of WrestleMania, and we currently have 2 matches booked for that show. We're going to have the undisputed WWE Championship, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes rematch from WrestleMania, but with the title coming in on the other waist. We're also going to have a WWE Women's Championship match with the Queen of the Ring, Jade Cargill, taking on whoever is WWE Women's Champion. So presumably either Tiffany Stratton or Trish Stratus at that point. The end of August is going to be Clash in Paris. That's going to have whoever is one of the women's champions will be taking on the winner of a Battle Royale that's happening at Evolution. And Crown Jewel Perth is happening on Saturday, October 11th. And the matches we've got announced for that are a men's and women's Crown Jewel Championship match. So just like happened in Saudi last year, the WWE and the Undisputed Champion are going to face each other, and the WWE Women's and Women's World Champions are going to take on each other for those really ugly Crown Jewel Championship belts in Perth.
I hope they make
there
that
is a lot coming down. I don't know, because in theory they are title belts, not just prizes, right?
In theory. Ew.
Alex Firehart said,
that looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. Alex Firehart says, I'd be surprised if they didn't bring back the Mae Young Classic to lead into Evolution, but then again, Queen of the Ring did just finish up. Yeah, there's like the fact that they haven't done the Mae Young Classic again feels, because they did it a couple of times and it was great both times, and there's so many women that they could put on it. I just wonder if they're at the point now where that was a way to feed women into the system, and they've got lots of women, so they don't feel like they need to do it again, right?
They could do an in-house Mae Young Classic, though.
And it'd be great. They've got so many women on roster that are just incredible, and you get to put people like Jordan Grace in it.
I suspect they're kind of in the same situation as AEW, where they don't want to bring in unsigned indie girls and guys on the off chance that the other team might buy them.
Yeah, free exposure for the other side.
Yeah, so they're like, if they do it, they could just do AAA and homegrown.
Great point from Alex Firehart that the AAA women could get involved in it now. That's a really good point, and it'd be cool and interesting to see. Over on the other side in AEW, there has been a reunition. Is that a word? The Golden Lovers have reunited on Dynamite 300. I don't know. Golden Lovers are back, so that's exciting.
That's the word.
Reunion is the word. I don't know where reunition came from. It's been a long night. Just the two of us talking wrestling, Jamie. I need a third voice to give me a breath. Come on. The Golden Lovers are back together as of Dynamite 300, all in the lead up to AEW All in Texas, which is on Saturday, July 12th. So that is coming up very soon and is obviously going up against Saturday night's main event. That one's going to have a few matches announced so far. The AEW World Championship match with Jon Moxley defending against Hangman Adam Page is now a Texas death match. No Soul Rose has just said that his new tag team is called the Reunition. Great to hear it, Rose.
It's a Texas death match because why wouldn't it be?
Because why wouldn't it be? You know, he's a cowboy and that's Texas adjacent. And Moxley likes death matches. Moxley can't work a normal singles match anymore, it seems. So he's got to be a Texas death match. Mm-hmm. The AEW Women's World Championship is going to be on the line with Toni Storm defending against Mercedes Moné. There's going to be a winner-takes-all AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada versus AEW International Champion Kenny Omega, with those belts being merged into one. There's going to be a tag match with Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay taking on the Young Bucks. On the line there, if Swerve and Ospreay lose, they can't have a shot at the title for 1 year. And on the other side, the Young Bucks have put their EVP positions on the line. And then there's also going to be a men's and a women's casino gauntlet match. Mark Briscoe is going to be number 1 and MJF is going to be number 2 in the men's match. And in the women's match, Chris Statlander going to be number 1. Wild Angel points out maybe it's just a death match in Texas, right? Now, I have a little bit of a complaint about this Swerve and Ospreay versus Young Bucks thing, right? Okay. You got to earn title shots. Like, they don't just hand out title shots. How are people able to put on the line the fact that they will not challenge for a title for 1 year? Like, I understand that idea of, like, going up against the champion and being like, I won't challenge again if I lose. But going up against not the champion and saying, oh, if I lose, I won't get a title shot. It's like, you didn't have the title shot in the first place, bro.
To be fair, it is Swerve and Will who are...
I know.
...guaranteed to get a shot at some point. One of them's probably winning the Continental Classic.
Almost certainly, yeah. Alex Fireheart says, so we can get Ospreay/Swerve losing and Swerve turns heel, I guess? Maybe. Then,
yeah, but
for
do
me...
you really want to really cut off the legs of your main event division by taking those two out of it for 12 months?
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's take away the option for us to tell some of these stories. Like, what? Also,
yeah, like they're winning. Like,
what
all
happens
that does to me is it makes it...
They are winning. They are winning, because that's the step. There's no way they're losing, right?
Yeah.
So, but in theory, what would happen if they lost this match? Would they be allowed to enter the Continental Classic? Because
I guess technically, because like their eligibility to challenge would go past the 12 months.
I guess. Also, could they theoretically challenge for a title that's not the main title? Right? But then, like, does that... that's just weird and freaky, right?
Yeah,
because
they could challenge for the that merged title. The unified title, whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's very true. Alex Fireheart says they could enter but don't get a reward at the end. And Roddy says, why not raise the stakes if they're not losing? Yeah, I fully agree. Like, but I guess part of the problem with raising the stakes is like, with these stakes, we already know that they're not losing.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to make it more predictable?
Stuff was like, oh, they might still lose. Now it's like, oh, they're winning.
Yeah.
At least if it was just the P things, you could do that turn because they have All Out like a few weeks later. And then if you had the Swerve turning on Ospreay, you can rerun that back in a couple of weeks without having, oh, we don't have 8 weeks to build to a main event match. We've got 2 weeks and the turn just happened.
Yeah. Rose is just being a jerk and says he agrees with this Todd Eastman fellow, but hates the can't challenge for stipulation.
At least they didn't do the can't challenge ever like Cody did.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen,
but didn't he like actually lose that?
Yes, he did.
Or am I?
He did.
Yeah, like
at least these guys limited their potential losses.
Yeah. Michael Lee with an interesting question: who would or should ascend to the main event tier if Swerve and Ospreay were to lose? Like, who goes up there? I mean, like
Brody King, Okada. Kenny.
There's no shortage.
Speedball,
Darby Allin,
Darby,
Mike Bailey, yeah.
Jay White is still around. There's
the AEW roster is so beyond stacked that it's like we could just keep naming people. Like, really, it's a ridiculously stacked.
Christian is around.
Does Keith Lee still work there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird roster that there are. Yeah, Keith Lee is still on their roster. Who wouldn't want to see a Keith Lee like world title challenge, right? Look at Johnny TV. That dude's got the goods, right? And then if you want to look at undercard people that you can bring up who would do really excellent stuff, where's John Silver's like solo run?
Yep.
John Silver is the guy. Put Josh Alexander in that spot.
Yeah, Josh Alexander's still there. Kyle Fletcher's
like this
no-brainer. Like
Kyle Fletcher's the obvious one, right? No Soul Rose is really hoping for a Cope and Christian reunition. Alex Fireheart says personally they're still waiting for Takeshita to get the top title. See, like there is just no shortage of guys. Hell, maybe they should lose at
maybe
this
they
point.
do need to lose.
They do need to lose. We got other people to get up there.
But then you've also got,
gosh.
Actually, them losing might actually be the play here. Because All In next year is back in England. Yep. So then Ospreay can challenge there and it'll be his first world title.
That's
match.
exactly 12 months.
Holy shit. God damn it. Did we just look at their losing?
Oh, man. After going on that rant about how they're definitely not losing. Oh, boy.
Maybe TK's actually a genius.
It could actually be something. Anyway, let's
all of my predictions.
Man, I only ever get sad when we talk about AEW. So let's move on to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where there has been a title change.
This week.
Yeah, there is a new IWGP Heavyweight Champion. It is Zack Sabre Jr., who beat Hiroki Goto at Tanahashi Jam, a random, untelevised freaking taping. Like, This definitely seems like it was hot-shotted for some reason, right, Jamie?
Yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was like everyone kind of found out on Twitter with he lost. And from what I've heard, the match is fantastic if you do pay the extra to watch it on New Japan World as a pay-per-view. But yeah, kind of just happened out of nowhere. And now Goto's out of the match on tomorrow's show as well. So
yeah,
something a bit more going on in there.
Yeah, hopefully he is long-term okay, because the G1's coming up, and it's not a good look for Goto, who is in A block at time of recording for G1 Climax. Speaking of G1 Climax, we've got some qualifiers, people who have come in on those TBD slots. Callum Newman has qualified for A block, while Driller Maloney has qualified for B block. There is still 2 more qualifying matches that are going to happen on the 4th of July, so very soon. That is going to be for B block. It's going to be Yoshihashi versus Chase Owens. And for A block, I believe we've talked about on the show, there has been a change, because originally Don Farley was going to take on Ryohei Oiwa, but due to some things going on, that has been swapped out for Satoshi Kojima, who there is no way in hell Kojima wrestles the G1.
No.
It cannot happen. It simply cannot happen, right? Like, there's a little part of me that goes, what happens if Kojima wrestles in the G1 in 2025? And I know the answer. The answer is that he gets sent to hospital halfway through.
He wrestles about 3 matches, and then everyone gets a bye after that.
Yeah. You'd have to have him lose every match, because otherwise all the people getting a bye wouldn't be fair to the people who had to wrestle him. Mm-hmm. It's Alex Fireheart says, on the plus side, a big win for Oiwa, even if Kojima is an old dude. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, Kojima's got a name on him, right? So it's still...
That B-block play-in is rough.
Yeah. It's we've got Alex Fireheart saying, please God, let Yoshihashi win, which is such a funny thing to see in one of our chats. Please, God, let Yoshihashi win. That should become our tagline here. Like, there's only one person who needs to win more than Yoshihashi, and it's Master Watto. So we need to move on and talk about what the show is named for, which is our chicken salad and chicken shit of the week. Let's start negative, and I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Apps. What didn't you like this week?
So this is a weird one. Like, I'm all for Izzy Moreno getting new merch and stuff. The fact that she's selling Kiss cards, like signed Kiss cards after just turning 18, feels a little bit kind of yuck. I feel like if you're buying those cards, you should be on a list. There is something wrong there.
Yeah.
Like, get your money, girl, but that maybe if we'd waited a couple more years for the Kiss cards. Just regular trading cards.
I know a guy who prints them, actually. Like, you can get trading cards.
Yeah, just make... I would have been fine. I don't even want to make them. Someone else can make them. Just don't make Kiss cards for an 18-year-old that everybody has seen grow up from, like, a 12-year-old.
That's the... She was a kid. Like, I still only think of her as a kid. It's weird.
If she had, like, an 18-year-old debuting that we'd never seen before, I probably would feel a little bit less gross about it.
Yeah.
I'd still feel a bit gross, but not as gross.
Yeah. Yeah, just the fact that this is somebody who has been known as a child for so long to immediately come out with that. No Soul Rose says, Rose Kiss cards coming this summer. How many can I buy, Rosie? Also, can my cheek be a card, please? My chicken shit for the week obviously is the same as Wild Angels, chicken shit Saudi shows. Maddie Huss has asked in the chat, very naive of me, but what is a Kiss card? It's kind of like a trading card, except it's women will put on lipstick and then kiss the card.
Yes.
Right? It's like weirdly, yeah.
Weirdly,
it's a little unsavory.
18-year-old that we've seen grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have an extra chicken shit because it feels too easy to just say every time WWE goes to Saudi Arabia that that's my chicken shit, right? Again, I love companies getting money, but sometimes a moment can feel weird. It can feel like a weird moment to promote something. So when the Golden Lovers reunited on the 300th episode of Dynamite, and then Kenny Omega got to address the fans after joining up with someone who he has had I think at this point, like, it's definitely over a decade. Is it decades at this point? Long relationship with, a story that has had lots of ups and downs, very emotional. And then he gets on the microphone and tells everyone to go see the new Superman movie. It's just, it's not the moment. It's not the time. Like, let your moments be moments.
Superman banner in the background. That was enough.
That's plenty. You don't need to get on the mic and tell me to go watch the movie about the Man of Steel, right? The thing that's going to convince me is not Kenny Omega getting on the mic after a Golden Lovers reunion, and that's the most important thing he has to say to me is James Gunn has a new take on The Last Son of Krypton. Like, I don't need it. I don't think anyone needs it. I don't think it benefits Superman. I don't think it benefits AEW other than financially, right? So
I don't even know if it benefits them financially.
Yeah,
because it's
who knows?
It's probably just been like, hey, you got to do this.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
but,
Jesus.
The way they promoted it with Tony Storm was much more fitting.
Yes.
Like, we had the backstage promo thing that we filmed a couple of days before. That was fine. Doing it in the ring makes it weird.
I agree with Alex Fireheart, who says, see, if Ibushi had said it, I would have laughed pretty hard. If that was after this huge moment and Ibushi's, like, slight mastery of the English language, if he had gotten on the mic to tell me to go see Superman, I would have lost it. That would have been unreal. Alex Fireheart's chicken shit for this week is, for lack of anything else, Chase Owens might thankfully be out of Bullet Club at this point, but he is unfortunately still employed. Well, There we go, Alex. Look, let's brighten the mood a little with some chicken salad. What have you got for us, Jamie?
I had two different ones. I had one that came out early in the week, and it was the Kyle chant on Collision last weekend. The creativity of that crowd, brilliant. We had a "This is Kyle" chant. We are Kyle people. Or we Kyle people instead of we hurt people. We want Kyle. Kyle is awesome. Holy Kyle. Both of these Kyles.
These Kyles.
You sick, Kyle. And thank you, Kyle, because it was Kyle Fletcher versus Kyle O'Reilly. And those chants just had me laughing that entire match. And then my other one was two of my worlds crossing over. Seth Rollins appearing in A Day to Remember's new
music video, yeah. Yeah, and burning it down too, going old school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love seeing wrestling pop up places, right? Matty Huss's chicken salad is the love the crowd at Mayhem Pro gave George Hitman Julio as he received the PW Down Under Pioneer Award was wonderful. And pop for him punching a freshly heel turned Mitch Waterman absolutely blew the roof off the place. Yeah, hard to argue. No Soul Rose has come in and stolen my chicken salad. El Grande Americano making an appearance on WWE TV while Chad Gable is injured. Yeah, he looked... It didn't quite look like he usually looks. It might just be a trick of the camera. The fact that he seemed to get taller, going up to exactly Ludwig Kaiser's height, while Chad Gable is out from surgery. But, you know, that was a lot of fun. That was going to be my... Yeah, lifts, yeah. They do a lot of work. And of course, because Chad wasn't there, he couldn't borrow Chad's boots while his are stuck in customs, so he had to, you know, get some with lifts in them. So it all makes sense, you know. There's logic there. That was going to be my chicken salad because we all know that my real chicken salad is the PWA Rumble. I just thought it was bloody excellent. And we did talk for a long time about it, so I didn't want to, you know, have to go on a whole lot more about... No Soul Rose says that he has no idea what I'm talking about. It looked like El Grande Americano was taller. That's all I was saying, Rose. Yeah, the PWA King of the Metro Rumble was just bloody excellent. It start to finish, so entertaining. Watching it live was a blast. Our group chat was going off. Twitter was going off. The YouTube chat was going off. It was just fun. You know, seeing guys like Edward Dusk get their moments in PWA was excellent. By the way, no threat of violence here, I promise, but Edward Dusk has new merch out. Go to his socials and have a look at it. That man has the best merch in the game. I have purchased a t-shirt. I have not been threatened to deliver this message. But yeah, that Rumble, the fact that you can just go and watch that Rumble for free on YouTube is unreal. And there is no reason not to be keeping up with PWA right now. Everything they're doing is so much fun to watch. Like we said, there was a little bit of that tag match that we didn't love. Other than that, start to finish, what a bloody show, right? There is so much good stuff coming out of that company. The idea of not keeping up with it when it's on YouTube for free is crazy.
And the next show looks already stacked.
Yeah, the Ladders show.
Yeah,
Ladders. It's called Ladders! ! Like the class in Community. The Climb. Thank you. It's going to be such a good show, and you like the fact that they are so consistent, right? Is just fantastic. I mean, they're not like weekly consistent. They're not every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time consistent. You know who is consistent like that? Is Wrestle Radio Australia with Making Chicken Salad. So you should be subscribed to that. Head on over to twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia and hit the follow button, hit the subscribe if you want to support what we're doing. That notifies you when we go live. You can also follow us on whatever podcast platform that you like to follow people on: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict. Wherever you do it, it's free. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, if you could give us a rating and a 5-star review, that's really helpful. Gets into more ears, gets us spread around, as does the social media. We are at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Lachlan Albert. Todd, if you want to follow the pod man, is at Beast Eastman, as you can see down there. Jamie is at Jamie Apps Media. He's also at Pario Magazine, I believe. Jamie, tell us what's going on with Pario Magazine and with Oz Wrestling Cards.
New issue is about to be out. It will feature some cool interviews, including one-shot Mitch Ryder. Next set of trading cards will be out this week, so keep an eye on socials for those pre-sales. I believe, pretty sure Lachlan might be in that pack. Just throwing it out there.
I might be later in the year. You might have to keep your eyes out if memory serves, but we'll see.
There's that many. I've lost track of who is where, but yeah, there's some cool stuff. Actually, it's Jeff.
Jeff Setti, I believe, may be coming into this pack, but I got my phone. I had to stick a trading card in the back of my phone, so there we go. So I got that thing on me. And if you want to have our thing on you, you can get some Wrestle Radio Australia merch by going to Redbubble, searching for Wrestle Radio Australia. The proceeds don't go to us. They go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, two awesome charities that support mental health here in Australia. And if you're looking for some merch, head on over to kickout.com.au. They've got merch of your favorite Queensland wrestlers and wrestlers from around Australia. If you are a wrestler and you want your merch on kickout.com.au, you can head on over to the Kickout Instagram page, shoot them a message, and they can help you get your stuff up there and get you making some money. I didn't mention a couple of, or I should say, a couple of chicken salads from people. Wild Angels broken record chicken salad is Aussie Wrestling /wrestlers, and Macho Man Andy Savage says Shay Cassidy is my chicken salad. I can't believe how good she got so quickly. You are so right, Andy. Absolutely agree with you there. Jamie, is there anything else we've neglected to mention here tonight?
MCW live on YouTube this Saturday.
You're telling me it's live on YouTube?
It is.
Oh my goodness. That's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see all of the Twitter interactions popping off. You know, I'll be there watching it, so you'd better get along and watch it too. I might actually be busy with another show, but it's a secret show. Shh. So with that, on behalf of the gentlemen who aren't here, Jeff Setti and Todd Eastman, on behalf of my good friend Jamie Apps, I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one. Where's the clip? Where's the clip? Where's the clip?
Your arms are just too short to box with God. Hold one. On.